Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we are opening up a highly classified and frankly pretty terrifying file on the Montauk Project. We're going to be looking at the actual theoretical blueprints for what the source material describes as a literal mind control portal. Yeah, you heard me right. This isn't just spooky internet lore. We're taking a gritty, hard look at the alleged dark hardware behind it all. So let me ask you, what if Hawkins' lab was actually real? Our source material dives into this wild concept known as predictive programming. It basically asks this staggering question. What if your all-time favorite sci-fi shows are actually soft disclosure documentaries? Like, what if the impossible things we're watching on screen are just laundered versions of highly classified military truths? Think about it. On one side, we have the massive, nostalgic sci-fi hit Stranger Things. But on the other side, our source points to a very real, very physical place, a decommissioned Air Force base sitting right on the easternmost tip of Long Island. It's called Camp Hero in Montauk. And the text claims this is absolutely no coincidence. It argues the show is a direct laundering of real, raw whistleblower accounts. Part 1, Stranger Things is real. Let's dive right into this with an undeniable hard fact. The original pilot script for Stranger Things was literally titled Montauk. According to the source documents, the creators didn't just dream up a random fictional town in Indiana at first. No, they directly targeted the exact lore of the alleged 1983 Phoenix 3 event at Camp Hero. And the intelligence briefing claims these narrative choices aren't just clever plot points, they're exact mirrors of whistleblower accounts describing what supposedly happened in the underground blockhouses of Camp Hero. We're talking a subterranean government facility, the exploitation of psychic children, deep trauma-based mind control, and, yeah, the accidental tearing of interdimensional writs. Sound familiar? Part 2. They built Cerebro. So the alleged evolution of this terrifying technology spans decades. According to the deep state lore, it supposedly started back in 1943 with the Philadelphia experiment. The source calls this a macro-scale gigawatt sledgehammer of untuned electromagnetic fields that basically just broke the minds of sailors. Then, by the 1950s, with MK Ultra, they moved to what's described as a synaptic scalpel, using drugs and shock therapy to wipe memories. And finally, from 1971 to 1983, the Montauk Project supposedly synthesized both methods. The claim is they used massive radar frequencies to surgically and remotely alter human consciousness. So, who exactly were the players here, and what was this machine? The text introduces us to an RF engineer named Preston B. Nichols and a psychic subject named Duncan Cameron. But right at the center of this whole operation was the Montauk chair. It's described as a sensory deprivation throne entirely lined with advanced electromagnetic receivers. Our source literally compares this thing directly to Cerebro from the X-Men. It was allegedly designed to capture a human's psychic waveform, amplify it, and then route that signal straight into the base's massive SAGE radar. 5 million. That is the sheer brute force power we are talking about here. The AN/FPS-35 SAGE radar out at Camp Hero had a peak power output of 5 million watts per pulse, all generated by these massive klystron tubes. To put that into perspective, the source alleges this colossal dish wasn't just up there searching for Soviet bombers. No, it was acting as a gigantic, megawatt electromagnetic amplifier for the Montauk chair. And hey, if you're looking for a paper trail, check out U.S. Patent 511083. It was filed by Preston Nichols himself. The title, Method and Apparatus for Altering the Frequency of a Brainwave. The text presents this actual real-world patent as a practical schematic for neuroresonant mind control, basically miniaturizing the core technological principles he allegedly used out at Montauk. Part 3. Tearing the fabric. The source uses a very, very specific term for what this machine did. Neurological decoherence. It means using a precisely tuned electromagnetic frequency to directly attack and manipulate the physical seat of consciousness. According to the documents, the terrifying goal of the Montauk operation wasn't just to persuade people or implant suggestions. It was to intentionally, physically shatter a soul's coherence using frequency. 425 to 450 megahertz. This isn't just a random guess. This number is pulled directly from the declassified technical manual of the AN/FPS-35 radar. And the source claims this exact frequency band was absolutely no accident. It was a mathematical key. Here is exactly how this biophysical attack allegedly worked, broken down into 3 steps. First, the massive radar backlobe would induce a forced piezoelectric storm right inside the subject's brain.
Second, all that electrical chaos would completely shatter the brain's master clock. This disrupts the sense of linear time, which, by the way, explains the missing time that so many whistleblowers report. And third, the decoupling of consciousness. This specific frequency was supposedly designed to literally unplug the user's consciousness from their physical form.
Which brings us to the project's alleged catastrophic end. The text relays the famous monster from the id event. Now, according to the briefing, this untuned sledgehammer of frequency ended up tearing a permanent hole in space-time. It supposedly manifested a physical creature directly from Duncan Cameron's own subconscious, powered entirely by that 5-megawatt radar. Wild stuff.
Part 4. Hacking the Matrix.
What is really fascinating here is how the source grounds these super esoteric concepts in hard biological science. It points to 1990s research by Dr. Sidney B. Lang, who discovered that the human pineal gland, what some people call the third eye, actually contains literal piezoelectric calcite microcrystals. The text argues that your pineal gland isn't just soft, squishy tissue, it's literal biological hardware. It's a biocrystalline radio capable of both receiving and transmitting electromagnetic frequencies. And guys, this is what the source calls the mathematical smoking gun. On one side, we have the biological lock. If you apply standard physics to those pineal crystals, their fundamental resonant frequency calculates to exactly 440 megahertz. On the other side, the radar key. The Montauk Sage radar operated right between 425 and 450 megahertz. The text argues this is absolute, undeniable proof of a deliberate, scientifically informed weapon specifically designed to target the very hardware of human spiritual perception. The source then expands this concept into a complete mapping of our entire biology. It claims the brain isn't just a meat computer, it's a quantum tuning dial. The pineal gland? That's the transceiver. DNA is a fractal antenna, and the heart is a toroidal field generator. The intelligence briefing alleges that the deep state doesn't need magic wands to control us. They just use advanced antennas and gigawatts of RF power to hack the source code of our physical simulation by targeting these specific biological counterparts. And looping right back to where we started with Hollywood, the source points heavily to the 1999 film The Matrix. The text has this great quote calling it a literal documentary of the Loosh farm, sold as a cyberpunk action movie. It argues that this classic film isn't just fiction, but an elite confession. A confession that humanity is deliberately kept asleep in a false reality, just acting as biological batteries for a parasitic system. The ultimate objective behind all of this, the radar frequencies, the Montauk Project, and even modern telecom grids, was allegedly to systematically degrade your biological hardware. The claim is that they want to create so much biological static, so much noise, that you physically cannot tune into a higher frequency or even perceive the reality outside the prison walls of this simulation. So we'll leave you with this incredibly provocative thought drawn directly from the briefing. If our reality is truly a rendered system, if the sky is just a screen and the laws of physics are merely software that can be hacked by machines like the Montauk chair, well, are you the character trapped in the simulation? Or are you the operator who just forgot they're dreaming it? It's a heavy question for sure, but if you really look at the dark hardware we explored today, it's a question the source believes we urgently need to answer.